Back in studio for another awesome visit is political analyst Scott Hughes. Welcome back to KEEL. Welcome back to Shreveport. You've been on the road lately.
Good morning.
You gave a talk a couple of weeks ago. You just mentioned it, and somebody asked you at this speech that you gave, what are Shreveporters looking for in a mayor? What are, in your opinion, what are we looking for? What do we want?
Well, that crowd asked me the top four things someone's looking for in a mayor, and so my list was you're looking for a competent manager. You're looking for someone that can lower crime. You're looking for someone that can deliver jobs, and you're looking for someone that can improve quality of life.
That narrows it down to the five we had in the room the other day because they all say they're going to do that. Before we talk about our forum from Tuesday morning, there was one the night before, I think, at Southwood High.
Correct.
The Monday night before our Tuesday morning forum. Tell us a little bit about that. You paid you paid close attention to that one. You say at a couple of points it was a little more heated, a little more give and take between the candidates.
Well, it was a big forum. That was the West Shreveport Business Alliance, and I think one of the women's voter groups was there as well. And they had a big crowd. The auditorium was about half full, from what I'm told. I watched it online. Different format. They had all 8 candidates there. They asked every candidate a different question. They only had 1 or 2 questions everyone answered. So people were getting different questions. And so you didn't get a chance to respond to the person next to you. You had your own unique question. It got a little heated. It was a little back and forth.
Regarding what topics specifically?
Specifically, well, one of the major issues was the lawsuit had just come out over the city with the now water billing for the commercial accounts, the business accounts. And that lawsuit had just hit. That question got asked to the mayor, and the moderator and the mayor really got into it a little bit. And then that question was asked of all the candidates. There were several shots taken. There was talks about, do you vote in Shreveport? There were talks about, have you been around in Shreveport? Do you understand the job situation? It was a little heated. I'll say that. It wasn't in your face heated, but if you followed what they were saying, they were starting to go after each other a little bit.
The following morning they came in here. They were sweet. They were kind.
I listened to your forum. I was in Chicago, and I listened to your forum on the radio that morning. Yes, it was very colloquial, but the environment had changed. I think you saw the difference. At Southwood, they were in front of a live audience. They were in front of a rowdy audience. There were hundreds of people.
They were cheering and all that.
They were cheering. They were behind. They were at a table. They were
Right.
separated. They had the protection of a table in front of them, and they kind of went after each other. You brought them in here in the studio. They were all 5 crammed right in here. Very colloquial. You only had 5 of them. You asked the same question of all 5, and it really became more of a friendly visit, kind of like the very first coming out forum that they had.
What do you need to do to hear? I'm not hearing specifics. I'm not hearing, yeah, we want jobs. How? What? Where? When? Why? What are you going to do? I don't know. Will we ever get to that?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with what type of question. I think I referenced that Southwood debate on Monday. There were times in the debate, not just with the mayor, but with some of the other candidates, that the moderator followed. He did an excellent job. His name is John Lorick. He followed up with follow-up question. He followed up with, give me a yes or no. Give me 3 things. And so when you start to limit the time of their answers and you start to ask specific questions like yes, no, lightning round kind of things, you may get them pinned down a little bit better.
We talked about that. Robert and I talked about doing kind of a lightning round on a couple of things, but we opted not to. If we do it again, what would you do different?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. If you do it again, you need to ask a much more specific question. When you ask the general question, you're going to get the general answer to the 4 things I said a moment ago. They're going to tell you that they're a competent manager, that they can lower crime, that they can deliver quality of life, and they can deliver jobs. It's different to say, tell me the 3 things you will do in the first 30 days for crime. Specifically tell me what you're going to do in the first 6 months to do job. In the manager side, tell me departments that you've looked at that you believe we have money we can move around. When you ask those types of questions, they can't just drift back to, I'm a good person. I have plans. I have vision. You need to, if you want to pin them down. Ironically, I think we're trying to find a balance because on the one hand, you've got so many people running that don't seem to know a thing about city government. They've never served on the council. Most of them aren't elected officials, and many of them don't appear to have read the charter. Or don't appear to have read what the role of the office is. So they're not going to know a whole lot. So they're trying to stay up here at 30,000 feet and say, I can do this, yet so few of them are offering what I would call real hope, real vision.
That's an interesting point you just made because one of the questions I asked was the role of the mayor not only as an administrator but as an inspirational leader. Is that something? Is that a is that an issue? That if one of the candidates grabbed that it would really catapult them forward, and something that to this point, although it's early, that they've sort of ignored?
I would say yes. I think if you look back at our recent mayors, that's how they got there. If you look back to the previous mayor, Cedric Glover, I don't think Cedric ever made a claim he was a great manager, but Cedric had a vision. Whether you agreed or not, it was the next great city of the South. And if you look back before Cedric, you had Keith Hightower. And I don't think Keith Hightower, even though he does run a business, I don't think he claimed he was a great manager. He talked about bringing the kids home. He had this vision of what we're going to do with Shreveport. And I think that's what people may be looking for in a mayor. At the end of the day, the mayor is surrounded by people that are competent managers. You have city attorneys, and you have assistant CAOs, and you have department heads, and they can run things. They can do budgets. But if the mayor just wants to be the manager, what are we hiring?
If any of the five candidates if any of the five we had in this room on Tuesday morning were that inspirational leader, would we have seen it already?
Well, I think you would. I think what you're seeing is there are one or two that are trying that route, and that may be the only reason they're in the race. I mean, I think people see that a little bit in Stephen Jackson, the way he speaks. He seems to have a command of government because he's worked in it before. He is an elected official on the commission, so he comes across a little bit inspirational at times. I think people are looking for that in Adrian Perkins. People say, why is Adrian in the race? He hasn't lived here. Well, I think he's that outsider that may offer a vision, whether you agree or disagree. I think that some of the other candidates are trying to espouse that, but in my mind, they haven't really hit that home run.
In other words, nobody really has stood up and said, hey, y'all, follow me. And
no.
if they have, we're still waiting to be shown.
Yeah, I think right now everyone's just kind of saying we have problems and let's fix them. No one's saying here's the plan. And if you look at cities around the country, cities that have recovered, cities that have overcome, they've had that inspirational leader that does pick up the flag and say, let's head this direction.